Medicine and magic have been linked throughout history. There was a time where evil spirits were thought to be the cause of mental illness. Proximity or ownership of relics could heal, and charms and potions were thought to have curative powers. In the Middle Ages, medicine and magic were used cooperatively to treat a variety of ailments. But let's go back a little further. Since we just spoke about mummification in our last video, let's talk about, well, mummies. I can't say magic was used to cure death necessarily in ancient Egypt, but incantations, spells, and charms did play a large part in the continuation of souls in the afterlife. However, I'm not here to talk about magic and religion in ancient Egypt. That could be its own video, but what I do want to talk about today is corpse medicine and the magic of transmutation that occurred. And I want to start with mumia, a drug made from Egyptian mummies. Yep, like from the actual bodies. I'm Dr. Darren Raymond Locke, and welcome to Curious People Wanted. Well, we are going to talk about a very different afterlife of mummies than what people are used to today. If you stay with me until the end, I'll tell you about a discipline called corpse medicine and how it continued through the early 20th century. During the Middle Ages, there was a drug called mumia, which was made by creating a powder out of mummified bodies. Mummies, specifically Egyptian ones, had blackened skin, which many believed to have been caused by the use of something called bitumen during the mummification process. Before we get too into the creation of mumia, let's talk about bitumen for a minute. Bitumen is a type of mineral pitch that occurs naturally in the Middle East or can be created through the burning of coal or wood. According to classical scholars like Pliny, there were several types of bitumen that were found naturally throughout the Middle East. The Roman province of Judea and city of Sidon, which is in modern-day Lebanon, were sources of black solid-state bitumen, while white bitumen was found in ancient Babylonia. You could even get a naturally occurring liquid version from Apollonia in what is today southwestern Albania, and an oily type from Sicily. Leaving aside the practical uses of bitumen for things like caulking ships, regardless of state or color, bitumen was recorded by classical writers as having medicinal properties that could help ease ailments, anything from cataracts and eye afflictions to leprosy and gout. Mixing bitumen with wine, milk, oil, vinegar, or herbs like myrrh could help cure coughs or shortness of breath, dysentery, rheumatoid pain, and a host of other issues. Mixed with flour, it became a paste which could heal wounds. As a result, bitumen was highly prized and in constant demand, so much so that to make supplies last longer, merchants cut pure bitumen with pitch. So how do we go from medicinal uses of natural bitumen to grinding up mummies into powder? That's an awesome question. Classical writers record that bitumen was exported to Egypt, where it was mixed with herbs and used in the embalming process. Today, research has shown that during the first 2,000 years or so of mummification, resin, not bitumen, was the cause of the dark sheen and luster of mummified skin. It wasn't until sometime around the New Kingdom that bitumen actually began to be used in mummification. Its use in embalming intensified during the later Ptolemaic, Greek, and Roman period, which makes sense considering it was during that time that these classical writers are writing. Despite this, the idea that bitumen was used in Egyptian embalming propagated, and soon the term for the material became the term for the embalmed bodies of the Egyptian dead. Mumia is a Persian Arabic word that means wax, tar, or bitumen. As time progressed, bitumen as a drug, now usually referred to as mumia, continued to be prescribed or discussed as a treatment by various physicians and philosophers. While the study of the ancient writers continued, new texts were imported to Europe. One of the earliest and arguably the most influential in the rise of Western medicine was the writings of Avicenna. Avicenna lived in the 10th and 11th century and was a very notable Islamic philosopher and physician. His writings, particularly a medical document called Canon, became the basis for European university medical instruction in the 12th century. It wasn't replaced by another book until the 17th century, over 500 years later. Avicenna talks about mumia and says when mixed with herbs and other liquids like oil, butter, milk, or wine, it is efficacious in the treatments of everything from abscesses, fractures, concussions, and paralysis to digestive and lymphatic problems and afflictions of the throat, lungs, and heart. Mumia became a staple in apothecary shops, but an interesting transmutation was already taking place. People began to forget that the virtue of mumia was in the bitumen, which was the part that had medicinal properties. Instead, the medical properties of bitumen was transferred to actual mummies, and the belief propagated that bitumen was only efficacious when obtained from a body that was treated with it. This seems to stem, at least partly, from misinterpretations of Arabic texts. Gerard of Cremona, for example, defined the word mumia as the substance found in the land where bodies are buried with aloes, by which the liquid of the dead, mixed with the aloes, is transformed and is similar to marine pitch. Another reason for this transmutation was a confusion between bitumen as a substance taken from Egyptian mummies and bitumen as a naturally occurring mineral or product. Unfortunately, regardless of how you slice it, and that's probably a really, really poor choice of words, the best known source of bitumen were Egyptian mummies. By the 12th century, there was a strong market in the supply of mumia, which began to be referred to as simply mummy. The market for mummy, which was created from breaking up the bodies of Egyptian mummies, was centered in Alexandria, Egypt itself. Tomb raiding was a successful and lucrative trade, not only for the gold and semi-precious stones and antiquities that could be found, but because of the medicinal uses of the bodies buried. As demand for bitumen increased, supplies decreased. The Egyptian government began prohibiting traffic in mummies. In response, a large black market was created, but the bodies that could be gotten were not always authentic mummies. Merchants went so far as to find bodies, stuff them with bitumen, and wrap and dry them in the sun in order to find financial gain. In the 1500s and 1600s, some writers, scholars, and physicians like Pierre Bellon and Ambrose Paré began condemning the use of mumia for multiple reasons, including the fact that people selling or using it seemed to be completely ignorant of its origins. But surgeons and doctors continued to prescribe mumia. The surgeon John Hall wrote in 1565 that apothecaries often had the very flesh of man's body, for both whole arms and whole legs have been here not rarely seen. That being said, over the next half century or so, mumia lost its connection with humans and just came to mean flesh that had been treated or medicated with bitumen. Recipes show that birds, for instance, were often used to create new sources of mummy. Although there are references to mumia in German catalogs in the early 20th century, the drug had largely fallen out of favor by the late 1700s. This type of medicine is part of a larger discipline called corpse medicine. A combination of magic, homeopathy, and medicine, the practice of corpse medicine was born from a belief that the spirit was a real part of the human body. As a result, prescriptions began calling for powdered remains of human body parts. If you had a head ailment or suffered from convulsions, then the best remedy would be powdered skull mixed with chocolate or molasses. I mean, if you were female, you'd need the powdered skull of a woman, and if you were a man, you'd want some from another male. But I'm probably just better off not finishing that statement. If you had gout, rubbing fat into the skin would help ease it. Blood was also a useful element since it was believed to contain vitality of the body. But I'll stop before I get to the really gruesome prescriptions or details. Please like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and feel free to comment if there's a topic you'd like me to explore more. But most importantly, remember to stay curious.